find property like this $400,000 or $500,000, 600,000, and even a single family, if they are not cash flowing in a lot of areas and they don't make sense, when you're just buying a townhouse, you're paying maintenance fees. But if you find an affordable single family home with like 4 bedrooms, the rents are so high nowadays that it'll actually cover all the expenses. So you could do that. The best strategies to focus on, like in these areas that I just showed you, for newer investors, I would say buy and hold or doing a duplex conversion. If you're not familiar with that, I have a guide for it too I can send you, but it's basically just adding a second unit. So the reason why these bungalows are really popular in Hamilton and a lot of cities right now is because you can easily add a second unit in the basement. So if you look here, just go to the mountain. And the mountain is a very common practice, like very common strategy. Everything has a side entrance. See this? See this? So, and the basement with bungalows, you see everything up here when you're looking at it from the front, right? Looking at it from the front, this is probably like 1,000 square foot bungalow. Whatever the square footage is upstairs, the same thing is downstairs. So you can create a massive unit. These units are bigger in the basement than the ones of two-story houses because the footprint, which is the size of the building, right? The square, it's the same size upstairs, same size downstairs. So you can usually put a 2 bed unit there. So for newer investors, it's an interesting way to buy a property, force the value up. Usually whatever you add in value when you're doing a legal unit, you get back. So when you buy a bungalow, let's say on the mountain for like 600, 650,000, when you spend your money to do a legal basement unit, making it a duplex, the value goes up based like 2x based on the money you put in. So if you're adding a legal unit, usually it costs like 100, 120,000, it's going to go up by 2 times that amount. So that's why like a lot of people like doing that. It's a lot of contractors understand it. It's a simple strategy. The banks will give you the valuation too. They recognize it. So it's an easy strategy. The other thing you can do, if you just want to do a buy and hold, is you can buy these pre-made. So like I was showing you before, there's duplexes here. You can buy them ready-made, newly converted for 800 to 850,000 right now, right? And you can just buy that, whether it's your primary residence or you're renting it out, and it covers pretty much all the expenses. Even at today's interest rates, you're gonna break even for sure at the very least, as long as you don't overpay for a property or under rent it. Um, and the other option is you can buy really affordable single family homes. But you want to avoid the bad areas. If you're starting out new, I would say focus on like decent areas. So you could go even on the northwest end, somewhere here. If you get like a semi or a townhouse, you can find stuff even of 400,000s, right? So you can find property like this $400,000 or $500,000, 600,000, and even a single family. If they are not cash flowing in a lot of areas and they don't make sense, when you're just buying a townhouse, you're paying maintenance fees. But if you find an affordable single family home with like 4 bedrooms, the rents are so high nowadays that it'll actually cover all the expenses. So you could do that. And in some cases with townhouses too, or you could just buy a ready-made duplex. In these B areas, you can find these properties for like 600, 650,000, right? So I'll show you examples too from my MLS. Um, that's probably the best way to show you. So if we look at some of the stuff that's up, I'll show you some in particular. That deal I sent out to one of my clients actually recently too that we're looking at. So for example, this is in a B area, right? It's near Rosedale. Rosedale, by the way, is very similar to the Hamilton Mountain, but this is like a B plus area. So this legal duplex is going for 689. It needs some work, but it's massive. Like it's not terrible. It just needs a reno in the kitchen, maybe change some of the light fixtures, but the flooring is like decent. It could use some paint, maybe redo the bathroom, but literally, like no word of a lie, it has 2 units. You can rent each of these 2 units in, and one of these units actually has a basement, which is rare. So usually when you're renting out a unit, people don't get storage space, and that's why people are upset. But look at the layout, right? For 689 B area, you're getting one unit here, two beds, kitchen, living, dining. Second unit, same thing, but second unit also has the basement included. So this could probably pull as is, like in this condition. I would say the upper unit for $2,000, and with the basement, this one at least like 25, 2,600. So that's what I mean. Like you can find these, and you can just buy and hold that, do some minor renovations. You don't need to do anything massive, but for newer investors, there's these type of opportunities, right? If you want to look at more complex stuff, um, you can take properties where there's just like the perfect layout, and you can do um, either like a 3 unit, 4 unit conversion, or sometimes even bigger. So, like, I'll show you an example. So, any property with a detached garage right now, you can convert the garage into a legal unit. So, you can take a house, add units to that, but you can also add a unit in the garage. So, I'll show you an example property. So, this property, for example, it has a detached garage. This is a great area, by the way. This is the West Mountain in Hamilton. See, this garage is large enough. It's like 400 or 500 square feet that you can put a legal unit in there. It has a side entrance, so you can add a unit in the basement and you can add a unit upstairs. The basement's unfinished. So technically, you're going to get a unit here in the basement, a unit upstairs, and then you get your garage unit. So that's one strategy. If you were like more advanced, you're into, let's say, like development, and you want to get into like bigger projects, then in these areas, like the same, um, like B plus areas, like closer to the downtown core, um, there's a lot of opportunities for in terms of buildings. Like you see all these structures here. Like I just randomly click on and there's buildings popping up, but that's my point. The zoning here, so like there's a possibility you could buy buildings like these or this one, and you can either add to it or you can reconstruct it, right? And the interesting thing is we'll see a lot of times that there will be like commercial buildings, right? And those commercial buildings, for example, like something like this, let's say, right? If this goes for sale and it's vacant, it could probably be converted to this, but obviously you have to do your due diligence. Like this is an auto repair shop, so they might make you do some like studies, that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of variety, right? And the zoning is very friendly, allowing you to do that stuff. Like or something like this, right? For example, there's so much land here. Like if someone sells this, this is like a massive play for a development, and I'm sure they're working on something here, but that's just what it is because the zoning allows for a lot of this stuff, but that's obviously a much more detailed, a lot more due diligence required for that stuff. But if you're interested in that stuff, like for sure, connect with me, and then I'm helping some people with those kind of things right now. But that's what it is. So there's something for everyone, pretty much. But I would say it's easier to focus on the simple stuff, especially if you're starting out. Just go to the good areas, right? The A areas, and find like these decent, decent quality properties where you don't need to do a ton of renovations. Maybe you add a second unit, and they're affordable, right? And then you can rent them out, get some skin in the game, and then go from there. And you could stay within the city and do a lot of stuff. Like this is the thing I don't understand. Like a lot of people are going like hours, like they're going 5, 6 hours because they find a property maybe that's like 300, 400,000. You could just go to like a C area here and find a property for 400,000. Like it's hilarious, and the rents are higher than those cities, obviously, so it makes up for it, right? Um, but there's a lot of options for new and experienced investors.